I think The Secret, I hope it will be kind of a thriller, but a romantic thriller, I would think. And yet it's kind of a thriller love story, I guess, I would hope. You know, it's kind of, it takes, you know, an old idea of body switching, of a daughter and a mother switching places, and yet it doesn't play it for laughs. You know, it plays it more for the mystery and the love of the father for his wife and for his daughter, which is I thought what made it original. Ben Maris, who's the father of the girl and the husband of the wife, you know. So what I found interesting about the part to take it was that he has to readjust constantly. You know, when his wife is inhabiting the body of this 16-year-old girl, it obviously changes things a lot. And then when his wife is and when his daughter is there, you know, it's hard for me to keep track of right here. So that's what I found interesting, was that it was hard to keep track of. The fun thing about that confusion is that, you know, I get to go from kind of, you know, sexual jealousy of my wife to kind of paternal punishment of my daughter in the same scene. It's very kind of sick and can be funny and can be sad. It's just, there's a lot of tones to it that are interesting. You know, as you go through every scene, I go from being, you know, father, lover, husband, you know, baby, whatever. You know, I found that fascinating. I prepare the same and differently for everything. You know, it's just, you know, it's kind of a secret. That's a secret.
This one in particular, in the sense that you have to imagine, I guess, that your wife.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows those. I mean, these are elemental feelings that we're dealing with in the film. You're dealing with the death of a spouse and the death of a child. You know, I don't think it can get any more. I mean, everybody can relate in some way to that. And when you prepare for the role, you just have to make sure that it's specific in some way. I think it's an interesting part of the script that, you know, as in the case of like these kind of like Freaky Friday and movies like that, you have, you know, you have the adult in the child's body having to pass through the life of the child, and yet, as I said, it's not really played for laughs that often. I mean, I think there are some light moments in the script, but predominantly it's played for the drama, and I think because it's played for the drama, it's probably is more realistic, you know, with the kids rather than a Freaky Friday, which is, you know, kind of light and airy. What I thought was interesting about the relationship between my character and my daughter's character is that we seem to have a better relationship than with the mom, you know, and I thought as that played out in the movie, it would be interesting to bring out the fact that, you know, maybe I was secretly kind of happy about that, you know, that you know, perfect families, you know, have their fissures or whatever. But I was just surprised, you know, to play the father of a 16-year-old. I've never, you know, I don't know if I've ever had a kid, you know, in film or TV. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I've never had a baby, you know. So I jumped from, you know, being the father of a young child to, you know, having a teenager. So I kind of had to get my head around that. Personally, I have a 6 and a 3-year-old, so I understand that. But, you know, trying to be the father of a, you know, a teenager was a different story. In terms of acting, it's a great opportunity and a very interesting role, you know. And Olivia, I think it's her first anything, you know, on film, and she's pretty remarkable for her poise and her responsibility and her talent. You know, she's where she should be. You know, she's not like a kid who lucked into this. You know, she's very serious about it, and I'm just impressed by her. You know, I think I'm most impressed by the fact that she believes that she belongs here, and that shows. You know, so you're not really dealing with her nerves, or, you know, she's also very willing to learn. She's not trying to cover up that she doesn't know stuff. You know, she's just soaking it all up, and it's all, you know, for an 18-year-old to behave that way is pretty impressive. I know that Vincent and Olivia are aware of charting the difference, you know, between the two characters. For her, that's really their business, you know. I think there's some tics that they've been doing, kind of physical tics or manifestations that Lili Taylor might have done that Olivia's trying to copy, but yeah, I imagine she's very different. It's just not something that I've been seeing so much as trying to project onto her the difference, and the kind of sexuality of the movie is really interesting and kind of creepy, where she wants to, keep a sexual relationship with me because she's an adult. She just happens to be in this body. And so obviously in those scenes it's very different, between how the daughter acts and how the mother does. Vincent is very receptive to any ideas, which is great because I'll just say, an idea or what I think or, an impulse or as an actor or as a person who wants to put a camera somewhere. And Vincent's he's very capable and he's secure in his position, and he'll just take whatever he likes, so I feel very comfortable piping up. Yeah, I mean, I think there is a difference for actors turned directors. I think they have Vincent and I were just talking about it the other day, and he said he really appreciates actors more now that he directs, which is funny, because you'd think that as an actor you'd appreciate other actors. But I think, in general, they just have a sympathy for, what you need to do, that you're basically, I mean, what I always know when I'm directing is that the guy on the other side of the camera is alone, I mean, you may be rehearsed with a bunch of people and, there's a lot of people around, but, when you call action, that guy's alone. And so I try to just be with them, make them not feel so alone out there in the spotlight, I was kind of referring to the scene before where my wife in the body of Lily, the spirit of my wife in Lily's body tries to make love with me, dances with me, and tries to seduce me in a way. And I thought that was, fascinating scene to try to play and, allow the kind of desire to come in and then obviously the walls to go back up. And I enjoyed doing that very much. And then there was a scene where she comes home from a party, and I start by being kind of a stern parent, and then I turn into a petulant, jealous husband. And all those scenes where I'm kind of ricocheting back and forth between, she has two identities literally, but I have two identities in response to her identities, and I find that to be the key to the fun and the interesting part of playing this character. Those scenes where the worst thing in the world happens are always, they're always intense because you gotta do it, and yet you can't anticipate it because, you want to see the moment where the person takes in what's happened, so you can't come in, devastated. You have to come in almost hopeful and then be devastated by what you see. So there's very much a staying in the moment, and and not weighing it down before you get in there, and not getting ahead of the script and getting ahead of your feelings. So those are always really hard to do because, when the camera's rolling, it either works or it doesn't. But you try to stay there until you get something that felt, oh, that happened there, and I felt devastated in that moment. We know what devastation looks like, and we know what it feels like, but generally in life, you don't feel safe being devastated in public, which is where mostly it happens in the movies, unless you're alone somewhere. So, there's always this kind of balancing act that you want to play where you really want that feeling, and yet you always have to be aware, you're not in a movie. You're in public, and, you're negotiating a lot of different things, not just your feeling.